Hello, friends from across the nation and around the world. I'm Martin, and you are listening to Dad's Anytime Stories. And today we're going to continue with Wizardcraft 2.0, Chapter 11, The Dragon Egg Tournament. And if you like the podcast, don't forget to rate it, review it, share it with a friend. And if you somehow haven't checked out Dad's Bedtime Stories, my main podcast with over 600 episodes, you should do that if you want more stories like this. But now, on to the chapter. Chapter 11, The Dragon Egg Tournament. Oliver woke to the familiar digital screen floating in the center of his vision. It read, "Wake up." He selected yes, and the world snapped into place, along with a voice he knew well. "Congratulations," Martin said. "You have reached level 8. Mana, health, and stamina increased. You have earned 1 skill point." Oliver blinked. Level 8 already? How am I suddenly gaining a level every day? "Because your village fights and labors under your banner. Their actions earn experience for you as their acknowledged leader. This accelerates your growth. A maximum of 1 level can be gained per day, but your people's progress is now your progress." Huh. Oliver couldn't help but give a small smile. Then, let's make it count. He called up his menu. The holographic pane blossomed with constellations of symbols until one pulsed brighter than the rest. Inspiring Commander. Your presence galvanizes allies. Your words carry farther, your plans land cleaner, and your cause feels like theirs. This is not mind control. It is trust, courage, and momentum. He purchased it. A steady warmth spread through his chest, less a surge of power than a pull. A felt thread between himself and his people. When he breathed out, it felt as if the village breathed with him. He climbed out of bed, stretched his arms and legs, grabbed a quick bite to eat, and headed for the town hall. Now that he understood just how powerful the Wizard King truly was, he knew he had to take things more seriously. Gus was already waiting when he arrived. The administrator straightened a little taller the instant Oliver stepped into view, as though buoyed by an unseen tailwind. "Good morning, Gus," Oliver said. Even his voice carried differently, clearer, steadier, and a few scribes nearby paused, listening. "Good morning. How can I help you today, sir?" Gus replied, energized. "Well, as you know, we captured a whole bunch of eggs from the Wizard King yesterday," Oliver said. "But I also learned he has quite the collection of powers. Everything I tried against him just didn't do anything." "I see. At least we have a veritable army of golems and now dragons of our own," Gus answered. "Yeah, but those dragon eggs had to come from somewhere. I didn't see any full-sized dragons in that village, but he rules a lot more territory. And now we have to find enough people to take care of the eggs we have." "That is an excellent point," Gus said. "Do you have any ideas for how you'd like to select the dragon riders?" "First, I figured Griffin and Owen definitely deserved an egg of their own. I'm going to let them pick whatever they want. They've already proven how strong and loyal they are. But as for the rest, I'm not sure. Maybe I should go with the same elite team we brought to capture them. Do you have any ideas, Gus?"
I do have one possible idea.
What about a tournament? A tournament to see who the best warriors in your kingdom are. The top, however many contestants get to pick their egg in order of rank. Oliver nodded. The nearby clerks exchanged bright glances as if the plan had already become communal instinct. I like it. Tell you what, I'll get Owen and Griffin together and let them pick their eggs first. You start working on the tournament. The sooner the better. Understood, Gus said, already turning to issue crisp orders. Runners snapped to attention almost eagerly, as if Oliver's resolve had kindled their own. And don't worry, I believe we have a basic tournament organized by this afternoon. You go have fun with those other two, and I'll take care of things from here. The dragon eggs are in the town storage under the protected passcode, of course. I've designed them to be released only to you or me. Oh, thanks, Oliver said, and he headed off to find Owen and Griffin. He found them at a small cafe that had popped up in the village, eating breakfast. They both waved as he approached, grins widening. Good morning, guys. I've got a surprise for you, Oliver said. Really? What is it? Griffin asked. We've got those dragon eggs now, and I need the dragons to imprint onto people I can trust. I was thinking you two would be my first dragon riders. That, my friend, is an excellent idea, Griffin said at once, enthusiasm catching like dry tinder. Don't you agree, Owen? Yeah, Owen said, eyes bright. I've always wanted a dragon. Then follow me, Oliver said. Griffin tossed a few tokens on the table. As they crossed the square, a pair of guards stepped aside with quick, respectful nods and faint, almost proud smiles. The three of them headed for the town hall, down the stairs to the storage vault. They opened a large wooden door and stepped into a cavernous space. Stacks upon stacks of stone and iron, crates of food, and rows of barrels stretched into the shadows. Off to one side, the dragon eggs glowed a soft blue beneath a shimmering force field. That must be the protection Gus put on them, Oliver said. All right, guys, pick your eggs. They walked among the stacks. The eggs were all different colors, sizes, and shapes. Griffin's eyes caught on a gray egg with a swirling pattern around its shell, like wind etched in stone. This one looks cool, he said. Feels like wind power. Owen stopped before a large blue egg rippled with wave-like swirls. And I think this one's mine. It reminds me of the ocean. Oliver reached for the gray egg first. The glow snuffed out beneath his touch, and the shell yielded to his hands. He passed it to Griffin, then lifted the blue egg and handed it to Owen. All right, we need a big open area for the next step. Follow me. They climbed back into the daylight and crossed past farms. Overhead, Diamondbacks spotted the eggs and glided down to land beside them. A few farmhands, catching Oliver's purpose, fell in behind at a respectful distance, curious and quietly delighted. What are you doing with those dragon eggs? Diamondback asked, pacing alongside them. We're gonna hatch them, Oliver said. Owen and Griffin will soon have their own dragons. Interesting, Diamondback said with a pleased rumble. I am going to have my own retinue. What's that? Oliver asked. A retinue is a group of dragons that follow another dragon. In my case, as a legendary dragon of the highest level of power, and the firstborn here, I will be the leader. Oh, that makes sense, Oliver said. Let's see your first commanders hatched, then. Owen and Griffin set their eggs on a broad open field. A few villagers gathered at the perimeter, not crowding, but expectant, drawn by Oliver's calm certainty. Okay, what now? Griffin asked. Well, we'll need a lot of heat to warm them enough to hatch, Oliver said. I used fire magic on Diamondback. Got it, Griffin said. He and Owen stepped back, flames blossomed in their palms, and twin streams of fire licked across the shells. Oliver added his own fire, one stream to each egg. The eggs warmed to bright orange. Would you like to hatch the eggs? Martin's voice asked. Yes, both Owen and Griffin responded in unison. Two small dragonlings blinked in the sunlight. One, a light gray before Griffin, and a deep ocean blue before Owen. They stared at their new riders and chirped. Mama? Mama? Both riders received a prompt asking if they'd like to bond their dragons. They both agreed instantly. From the edge of the field, a small cheer rose and hushed itself, as if the village wanted to honor the moment more than own it. Feeding time, Oliver said, smiling. Come on, the farms are right here. It took a lot of food to make Diamondback this size, but we should be able to get both of your dragons to a reasonable size quickly. The dragons hopped onto their riders' shoulders. Together, they walked to the pens. Hey, Oliver called to the head farmer. We need as much meat as we can get for these two. Understood, the farmer said with a brisk salute, ducking into the barn and returning with a full inventory of meat. Where would you like it? Oliver pointed to two bare patches of ground. The farmer unloaded 2 mounds of meat. You can eat, Oliver said. The dragons looked to Owen and Griffin, got their nods, and launched into the feast. Steak after steak, pork chop after pork chop, drumstick after drumstick, until they flopped onto their sides with round bellies and issued heroic burps. Then, just like Diamondback had, they began to glow. They grew larger and larger until they stood as teenage dragons, big enough to ride, though nowhere near Diamondback's size. Welcome, young dragons, Diamondback said. You are both now in my retinue. I see we have one air-type dragon and one water-type. Perfect. Now, shall we go for a ride? He crouched and spread his wings. Oliver climbed onto Diamondback's back. The other 2 dragons lowered themselves for their riders. Owen and Griffin swung into their saddles. They launched into the sky, soaring high above the villages below. I believe we should test your powers, Diamondback said. We need a big, empty spot like that one down there. He spiraled toward a sandy basin ringed by a lake, landed, and let Oliver slide off. The other dragon sat down as well. You, air dragon, what will be your name? Diamondback asked. Oh, that's a really good question, the gray dragon said, considering. I think you should call me Swift, 'cause I'm swift like the wind. And I, the blue dragon said, will be called Flow, because I flow like the ocean, or a river, perhaps. All right, Diamondback announced. Let's see what you can do. Swift, go first. Swift drew a deep breath and blasted a plume of compressed air so powerful it knocked Oliver and the riders over onto their backs. Very good, Diamondback said, amused. And you, Flo? Flo inhaled and exhaled a shimmering torrent that froze the instant it touched the sand, leaving a glassy ribbon of crystal water behind. Excellent. Now let's see what else you can do. For hours, they practiced under Diamondback's watchful eye. Swift learned to shape vast air currents and to spin the air itself into tight, whirling funnels, tiny tornadoes that danced across the sand. Flo mastered surges of water and ice, sculpting nearby lake water into battering waves or delicate statues, then shattering them back to spray. Both dragons could also exhale massive plumes of fire, an element present in all dragons apparently. At last, Oliver decided it was time to head back for the tournament. He climbed onto Diamondback, and Moen and Griffin mounted their dragons. They rose into the sky, gliding over forests, oceans, and lakes, until their own village came into view. Only it looked a little different. Near the farming section, a new structure dominated the open ground. They circled lower and saw a stadium, simple but large, with a broad arena as its center and rows upon rows of benches around it. The seats were filling fast. Volunteers in fresh-made livery guided lines with crisp efficiency, galvanized by the plan they'd been proud to build. The center of the arena looked like a perfect landing pad. Oliver and Diamondback dropped into the ring, and Griffin on Swift and Owen on Flo settled beside them. The villagers erupted in cheers, not just for the dragons, but with the kind of affection that said, "We're with you." Oliver dismounted, and the dragons leapt back into the air, no doubt to find more food while the tournament took place. "Very good to see you, sir," Gus said, striding out. "May I lead you to your seat?" "I guess so." "You really built this fast," Oliver said. "Yes, with our resources and the golems, it wasn't hard. I built it from an old blueprint I had. Honestly, I thought I'd never have a chance to use it, but working with you has given me many chances I never expected." He said it lightly, but the look he gave Oliver carried the same warm pull of allegiance the skill had promised. It seemed earned, not forced, but he couldn't help but wonder. Gus led them up a stairway to a small viewing box that overlooked the arena, probably the best seats in the house, complete with cushioned chairs and a spread of snacks. Oliver, Owen, and Griffin grabbed chips and whatever else caught their eye, then settled in. The announcer's voice rang out. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first tournament. The tournament to determine who among us will become Dragon Riders. By the command and invitation of our leader, Oliver." The crowd cheered. All villagers are invited to participate, and the rules are simple. Round after round, fighters will be paired against an opponent. Winners will face winners, and so on, until only one is crowned champion, gaining first pick of the new eggs. More cheers. To move quickly, we will run multiple battles simultaneously. Fighters, take your spots. A column of armored soldiers marched from a tunnel and spread across the arena, each stepping into a marked circle. A few glanced up at Oliver's box, their jaws set with the kind of determination people reserve for causes they believe in. Bow to your opponent, shake hands, and begin. At once the field erupted, steel, spellfire, and shouts. Some charged with blades, others hurled elemental power. Bolts of fire and lightning arced, slabs of earth rose and crashed, gusts of air scythed across the sand. It looked like a miniature war. Oliver was stunned by how powerful his villagers had become. The chance to learn spells had changed everything. When he leaned forward, the crowd leaned with him. Contestants began to fall, caught by explosions, swallowed by waves of flame, flattened by air bursts, frozen by sudden ice. Referees called matches, healers rushed to their sides and whisked them away. Next round, the announcer called. Referees moved across the arena, holding number placards above their heads. Winners found their numbers and squared off again. Round 2 in 3, 2, 1. The second wave was even wilder. Firestorms, lightning ladders, surging water, skyborne riders propelled by wind, even golems clawing up from the ground to slam into each other. Again, one by one, the fights ended and the winners stood. Some glanced up at Oliver's box, flushed with the simple satisfaction of doing what was best for their village. The tournament continued until only 10 contestants remained, 10 warriors who had shown remarkable power. Very good, the announcer said. All 10 will receive an egg. The only thing left is the order. Referees, half as many now, raised new numbers. The finalists spread to their places, took their stances, and the battles resumed. When they ended, 5 winners were left. Since 5 is not an even number, the announcer said, the last round will be a free-for-all. Each contestant for themselves. Last one standing earns the first pick. Referees spaced the 5 fighters around the arena walls. In 3, 2, 1, fight. They exploded into motion. One launched himself skyward on a column of air. Others hurled raw force immediately. Blasts of fire and water crisscrossing the arena. A rock wielder stomped both feet and punched power into the earth. The ground erupted beneath 2 opponents, flinging them skyward. He wrenched a boulder from the floor and hurled it, smashing into a flying fighter. He ripped up another stone and flung it at the second, who split it with a lightning bolt and tumbled into a roll, popping up in a perfect stance to return fire. Lightning crackled toward the stone wielder. A rock wall surged up to catch it, and more boulders thundered across the sand. One connected and dropped the lightning user. Meanwhile, A fire specialist and the airborne wind user were dueling, flames roaring up and gusts hammering down. The rock wielder stomped again, raised 2 boulders into his hand, and slung them like meteors. One smashed the wind user out of the air. The fire specialist saw the second in time, rolled clear, and answered with a torrent of flame. The rock wielder twisted aside and hooked a boulder to his boot. He leapt, spun, and snapped the perfect stone roundhouse. The boulder slammed into the ground beside the fire user, staggering him. The earth mage thrust power into the sand again. Stone bars shot up and locked the fire user inside a cage. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner," the announcer cried. The crowd went wild. From Oliver's box, his simple standing applause seemed to ripple through the stadium. People rose with him almost instinctively. Not compelled, of course, just merely inspired by his new skill. "We will now clean the arena and tend to all contestants. Tomorrow morning, the egg awarding ceremony will take place." Slowly, the stadium emptied. Volunteers moved swiftly to reset the grounds, trading quick, excited plans about training and stables and flight practice. "Well, that was a pretty cool battle," Oliver said, standing. "But I'd better get to bed. Good night, everyone." "Good night," Griffin replied, and even his farewell sounded a shade prouder than usual. The 3 of them lifted on currents of air. Oliver floated down to his house, opened the door, and collapsed into bed. As he pulled the covers up, a familiar prompt appeared. Sleep now? He selected yes.